Somewhere in Los Angeles, a pop star just bought a cowboy hat. Somewhere else, a rapper just booked studio time in Nashville. Neither of them grew up on a ranch. Neither of them are from the country. And it doesn't matter, because right now, country music is the biggest stage in the industry, and everyone wants a spot on it. You've probably noticed it too. Artists who spent their whole careers promoting the exact opposite of a country lifestyle, now singing in boots and a cowboy hat. This is not random. It's a trend with a reason behind it that no one's talking about. So why is everyone suddenly going country? Let's figure it out. Back in 2019, a hip-hop artist named Lil Nas X released Old Town Road. It blended trap production with country instrumentation and imagery, and it became one of the biggest songs in American history, spending 19 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the time, the industry didn't know what to do with it. Was it country? Was it hip-hop? The genre lines blurred so hard that Billboard itself pulled it from the country charts, which only made people pay closer attention. That single song did something bigger than top a chart. It proved that a country aesthetic layered onto a completely different genre could reach an audience nobody thought was there. 5 years later, it was no longer an experiment. In 2024, Beyoncé released Cowboy Carter, not a country song, not a country feature, an entire country album. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 100 and the top country albums chart. Then came Post Malone with F1 Trillion, an entire album built around country music and collaborations with artists like Chris Stapleton and Tim McGraw. And suddenly, this wasn't a novelty anymore. Two of the biggest names in pop music were making serious country records, and both albums were nominated for Best Country Album at the Grammys. The industry had gone from asking, "Does this count as country?" to asking, "What artist is going country next?" Lana Del Rey publicly announced her own country-leaning project, saying, "We're going country. It's happening." Other major artists, even rapper Drake, have been linked to country projects too, although some of those rumors remain unconfirmed. At this point, it wasn't a coincidence anymore. The biggest names in music were circling the same genre at the same time. So why? There are 3 big reasons. First, country got huge. For years, country was treated like its own little corner of American music. But that corner kept getting bigger. Morgan Wallen was dominating streaming. Luke Combs turned a Tracy Chapman song into a massive crossover hit. Jelly Roll blurred the line between country, rock, and hip-hop so aggressively that the line practically disappeared. Country wasn't sitting quietly in its own lane anymore. It was taking over the highway. And once that happened, the rest of the industry had a reason to pay attention. Second, streaming destroyed the old genre walls. Back when radio controlled everything, an artist had a lane. Country radio played country. Hip-hop radio played hip-hop. Pop radio played pop. And if you crossed lanes too aggressively, you risked confusing the audience that built your career. Streaming doesn't care. Spotify doesn't look at a song and say, "Sorry, you're a rapper. You can't listen to this." It just asks one question. Did you press play? And that completely changes the risk. Crossing genres used to mean gambling with your identity. Now it can mean expanding your audience. And third, the audience itself changed. Younger listeners don't necessarily organize music by genre anymore. They organize it by mood. The listener doesn't care what shelf the song belongs on. If it sounds good, it gets added. And the music industry eventually figured out something very important. If the audience doesn't see the walls, why should the artist? But there's an interesting contradiction here. The genre walls are disappearing, but they are still paying homage to the greats. Beyoncé didn't just make Cowboy Carter in a vacuum. She brought in Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson. Post Malone didn't just make a country album by himself. He worked with artists like Chris Stapleton, Tim McGraw, and Hank Williams Jr. And that tells you something. Yeah, it's almost like they're saying, "I don't need your permission to make a country album. But I would really like you to know that I respect the people who came before me." And country music seems increasingly willing to give them that invitation. Because at this point, the genre has something it didn't have 20 years ago. Leverage. And that's really the story. The audience changed. Streaming broke down the walls. Country got bigger. And eventually, the biggest artists in the world realized there was a massive audience on the other side of a door that was already half open.